Who am I? The most special moment I've had on stage is not in my professional career. It was my first night as Jean Valjean in Les Mis. With my first job, The Mousetrap, I was drinking champagne in my dressing room on the Saturday. On the Monday, I was jumping up and down at my father-in-law's car parts business in Brighton in a bin.
You stood on a stage in the West End in a lead role and had thousands of people clapping. Like, what? Take us back to that feeling.
You are met with a full standing ovation in that show every single night. For 3 years, I did it on and off. And then you leave through the stage door, and some nights you'll just go home and you just lie in bed and you're like, you can be a self-tape away from being over everybody's TVs and hugely famous. Or it can go to the person that you were down to the last two for and you see their life change. I think success now is balance. Being able to drop everything, like when my mum needed me. Yeah. I think that's really important for me. I was in Blood Brothers and, in the heart of my career. I haven't talked about this, actually, I don't think, with anybody. And my friend Mark rang me and he said, "Oh, legacies. I'll just finish it with this cut." So, sorry, probably can't use any of that.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. We're sharing the stories of our guests. I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey.
Need a new van? Why not pop down to Rivervale in Brighton? Explore our range of new and used vans, lovingly prepared and ready to work just as hard as you do. Rivervale, making motoring manageable.
Okay, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Very, very excited about today's episode. I have my very good friend, Jean Valjean himself, the man, the legend, Mr. Craig Whiteley.
Jean Valjean. Who am I?
It's got to be the title of this episode.
Who am I? 24601. What is it, 146? They're in there.
Hey, I tell you what.
146, 246. We just need a 0 and a 2.
We'll figure that out. We're going to go with that. We're going to figure something out. But mate, listen, look, we've been friends for a long time, and like I said, I think we mentioned just before we've come on, Mark, that many times that having a coffee or a beer up at yours or down the beach, whatever, and just having some amazing conversations. And I'm so fascinated, obviously, about your journey and I talk about success and the success that you've achieved within your career and within business and stuff as well. But there's loads of things I really want to explore with you today, especially from a performance side of things. I think really keen to look at how we, perform on a stage, but perform, I think a lot of us, and perform in life as well, right? And where that lands, I guess, masks maybe that we wear from time to time. So I'd really love to explore a lot of that. And I think there's one, how much of life is actually a performance. I want to tap into that. and a big question, and not really to answer now, but just to let this sit with you. And this is what I've landed with: how much of life is actually a performance, and what does it really mean to live authentically? Like, because one of the pillars of success that come out for me was authenticity, right? And I often refer on here about Bronnie Ware, who wrote a book about the 5 regrets of the dying, and she was a palliative nurse, and the biggest regret is that I've not lived a life true to myself, in alignment with my values. What does it really mean to live authentically? So I'd love to explore that over the course of the conversation. But as always, I want to just land, see where we are today. Starting every conversation as I have this last series, do a check-in where you are at this moment, season of your life, I guess, and where you are, and today, how you're landing. And Craig Whiteley, you all right, mate?
Without saying, yeah, I'm good. It's an interesting question, isn't it, at the moment? Like, with everything going on in the world, trying to keep that out and moving forward with the noise, and especially what I do, which is, teaching children, hopefully, doing something what they love and ignoring the noise. But it, of course, to sit here and go, oh, I'm in a great place, I'm good. Of course, I'm struggling with the noise and what's happening in the world at the moment, and but trying to focus on the good things. So it'd be easy to sit here and say, yeah, I'm good. I mean, I if we're talking just about where I'm at in this chapter, then yeah, I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment. It's I've got a great team around me. I've got a great family, and there's been lots of bumps in the road, and which is this week. It's funny that this has landed in this, because this is a big week for me. The podcast, this being one of them as well. Like, thank you for having me on. But yeah, it's so I'm in a good place of where I am with work, where I sit in my place at the moment. Yeah, and it's just keeping that noise so it doesn't interfere. But I don't know whether you have this, that if I block too much of it out, then am I just walking this, with my blinkers on, going, everything's great. So you have a guilt for that as well. And yeah, like I said, this is a big week for me.
Tell us about this week. So you've started off with just a couple of small things, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, my family, unfortunately, is the statistic for that 1 in 2 with cancer. My dad passed away when he was 59 with bowel cancer. My brother was then diagnosed with bowel cancer probably 3-4 years ago. Last year, my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I have a really positive outlook. Like it's almost become like if I get bad news now like that, I'm a little bit immune to it. But I do go, well, it's going to be okay. And thankfully, my brother and my mum are both in remission. But for me, I need a goal and I need to help in some way. And when we talk about roles in my family, is that I would like to think that it's a positive thing. We're going to get through this. We're going to do this. And my way, like I said, is working with the Martlets and Southern Hospices, which is what I'm doing this week, which is swimming 10K, which is a swimmer's marathon. Can I do the Ricky Gervais look to the camera?
Yeah, mate, you can.
So, and then
I want a few of them, Brad. That's gold.
And then I'm running the London Marathon on Sunday. So, yeah. That's it. I won't do any more.
It's priceless. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So it's we're currently doing very well for the charities because they're so important. And I know you've had Matt on here, who's a good friend of mine, and Mark, who is a good friend of mine, lives in the city, uses the hospice, and yeah, it's a huge part of what I do and want to give back, and yeah. So in the how am I? That's what you asked.
Yeah,
You're going to get a lot of this today.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good for the reasons that I'm scaffolded by a brilliant wife and family, and enjoying scaffolding other people as well.
But I guess that, like you mentioned about the positive outlook that you've had, and as an optimistic, and like, have you always had that, like from like growing up? Have you always had that type of mindset, or?
Yeah. I had a we always talk about it. Growing up in the 80s without the smartphone, it's incredible.
Good times, eh?
Just out on your bike playing football. And I know it almost sounds like a cliche, but it was an incredible grounding of for fitness, for being active. I had a great role models as mum and dad, who is just be kind, be caring, be curious, and I just try and keep those close by, even if somebody's you know what it's like if somebody says something. You get that when you're in business as well. It's very easy to smack that ball back over the net with have some of that, but it's just digest it and go, okay, just meet it with kindness. It's that could be having a bad day. You could make this worse. And so yeah, I think the optimism comes from the grounding. I grew up in North Wales, by the sea. Yeah, we didn't have much. Mum and dad struggled. Dad lost his job. We didn't have much. I'd say we were very much a working class family, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know that we were poor. And were we poor? Are we really poor? Like, what is? We've got a
food
house
on the table and a house.
Yeah, we didn't have the best stuff, but we just cracked on. It was
because you got brothers as well, haven't you?
3 brothers,
yeah. And I know you're all really close as well, right? And you're saying, obviously, I grew up with my older brother, but obviously sporty and competitive, and you're a fairly competitive person, would you say, mate?
I'm very competitive. But as I got older, I've got more competitive. I've had to get competitive with myself. And that's quite annoying. Yeah.
But even that, like, just growing up in that, like you said, in that environment with siblings and stuff like that, like, just and I always talk about mine as well, like that, just that fond memories of growing up, right, with those things, and you do, and I wonder, like, how much of that, like, you talk about the kindness and stuff, like, how much has it influenced us, social media and all the other, because we do just hear, like you said, about the noise earlier, right? And the noise, unfortunately, is a lot of negativity, isn't it? And that's where like the negative news and the division and all of these things that are happening all over the world.
And it's learnt behaviour. Children are growing up with this, if they're seeing people, adults that they respect, being critical, being nasty, being, that they will grow up to think that that's just normal, and it's which we were talking, I think, earlier as well about life being a performance. What is with social media now, are you really ever, am I being myself? No, I'm trying to be myself, but I'm aware that there's 3 cameras on me. And as an actor, you're used to playing a role and you can hide behind that role. Whereas now, this is quite strange for me because I'm like just trying to be me and speaking from the heart and what I've experienced in my 47 and a half years so far. Yeah.
When you sit with that then, like, and you, because I wonder very much about that, like with going into acting as you did and played the different roles you did, like that again, that authenticity when you say like I'm just trying to be me. Who if I ask you who is Craig Whiteley, like if you're sitting here now, like without the roles and the West End thing and the performance, like
who am I?
I'd love it if the answer was John Valjean. I had to get in there.
I can't get away from it. I can't get away. Yeah, just to open my chest.
Should have had my 2, 4, 6, 6.
What without all those things? Who I want to be, or who do I think I am?
Who do you feel that you are?
I feel like I feel like I'm my dad and my mum combined, and then people that I meet. Like I met somebody yesterday at the away day, Carol, who I hadn't seen her for ages, and I think I said that there are a few people in my life where I would go, what would they do? What would Carol do? Another one is my father-in-law, Bernard. He is incredible man. What would he do? And my mother-in-law has passed away, unfortunately, to cancer. There's a few of them that I go, what would they do? So it's such a good question, Sam. And I don't want to answer it by going with any noise outside of it. To go, I think I would like to be one of those people that people would go, what would Craig do? I'd like to think that I'm kind. I listen. I can help people. That I'm using a skill that I've been given as a performer and now as a teacher to hopefully be, a role model to some performing kids. I hope, that's who I think I see myself as: a good friend, a good husband, a good partner, a good brother, a good running trainer. Like, I'm really enjoying a friend of mine, Adam. He's got into running and he's going to beat me in the marathon, which is gutting. No, it's not. It's amazing, is seeing that you influence somebody's life, I suppose, in a really good way. And without, without, I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm the perfect human being either, going, oh, look at, I'm a role model, I'm this, I'm that. But if I can be all of those things, I think I'll be really happy. And for people to go, I'll call Craig, I'll ask him, or I'd like to think as well, if somebody needs me, I won't fob them off. I'll be there. This is what I'm struggling with, Sam. Is that he's sitting here and going, well, I don't want to sound perfect because I know I'm not. Oh, but it's their morals, I suppose, and
it's a brilliant art because there's I think like so many of us don't necessarily ask that question of ourselves, right? Until maybe sometimes, like they talk about midlife crisis awakening or midlife just in general, right? We maybe something happens and we do actually for the first time then go, and you look a little bit inward and you look and just by me asking you that question, and mate, automatically you look inward and you start going like and describing the person that for how long I've known you that you are, right? That 100%. You'd be one of my people, like, what would Craig do? Like, do you know what I mean? And that's me speaking honestly. Like, and you talk about would I be there for people? Well, again, I'll talk on my behalf. Like, you've been there for me many times since we've known each other. You know, like,
and then likewise as well. You know that you know back at you for that as well. I don't know whether I mentioned a good father as well.
Of course.
And that's the I think one of the hardest jobs in this, you know, which is you don't realise where that smartphone can get in the way sometimes of that, and try to desperately, you know, sort that out. Yeah, well, you know, with work and.
Yeah. Well, we spoke about it yesterday. We all of us are so guilty of it, and you know, these things are programmed to capture our attention and give us that dopamine to keep going back to, and that's what they're programmed to do. But yeah, I guess like certainly like you talk about role modelling, and I think like certainly with like that next generation, I constantly look at that, and I think. Role models, and I often think again you talk about behaviours, but people that I don't know if you do, like I think the people I'd want my kids to be around, right? Like, so I'd want them to be around, you know, like when they done the weenies and stuff, you want them to be involved with people and have those type of role models around your kids, right? They're the type of people that you want to again, like you said, to inspire, and it must be like obviously the role that you do with teaching kids, like how inspiring it must be to them, because obviously you've been there and done it, right? You've been on the stage at the
and that is the, you know, from our business point of view, is that like our team, we use, you know, you want to use industry professionals, and you want to use the, you know, the people that exactly what you've just said of, you know, that have been there and done it and are again, but are really kind people, because you can change you know, just even with 3 hours on a Saturday, you can. I've seen it happen. I've seen children come to the theatre workshop and can't speak on their first day, and they want to go home, and they're sad, and then the next week this is a little bit of a glimmer of maybe we can keep them, and then roll on 2 years, and everything's changed in their life for the positive. Their school work. Their confidence, they're now, you know, a parent messaged me the other day and said, here's a video of my child singing at a 50th party and blowing everybody away. Well, 3 years ago, you know, that wouldn't happen. They're just their life skills of, and, you know, watching children on their journeys, you know, you see, you know, them go and be lawyers, or you see them just go and be just like into professions that, you know, you need it. You need this for whether you're an electrician, a doctor, you know, you just need these skills to be able to talk to people. And that's what I love about my, you know, about my job. It's not about, you know, what we have 2% that maybe might go to drama school and then have a career. But the life skills and, you know, and reshaping children's, you know, some children's life. It sounds dramatic, but I've seen it, you know, it happens, and it's and that's something that I really love about my job, and you know, if you can go to work and enjoy what you do. And a lot of people say to me, and when I did Les Mis, you know, the question, oh, you'll go back now, won't you? No.
Really?
No. And I was asked yesterday about the 2 success kind of questions of, I had a lovely career as an actor, but to look back now and go, oh, well, am I a failed actor because I retired from it at 32, or do I feel as successful now as I did? Does anything match standing on a West End stage and in the finale? And one of our students won a BAFTA, and I sat and was like, we were a tiny part of that, a tiny part, but you're a little part of that moment. And seeing students now going into Netflix series and working in the industry, working in theatre, working in the West End, it's massively rewarding. It's huge, and it's a wonderful it's a wonderful feeling. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it about success. You have, like you said, you highlighted there a couple of things like business success with seeing the kids go on and achieve, and obviously the business is doing well, and then you go back to your career as an actor and what you achieved there at the West End. But what, I guess the big question I ask everyone is what? How do you define it? Like now, if I sit here and ask you now, what does success mean with all of that you have achieved? And you look back, sitting here now, what is success to you today? What do you?
If you'd have asked me when I was an actor, I would have gone this. Me being on a stage in that chapter of my life. I think success now is balance for me. Is being those good things that you asked me before. Is being a good dad, being a good friend, being a good brother, being able to drop everything, like when my mum needed me. I think being able to do that is that's now what makes me feel successful, that I can just jump on a train to North Wales and go and see my mum. If I was in a show, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I know it sounds, but I've created that with my wife, that she's just gone, you need to go, and she needs you. Well, and being there and walking in and seeing my mum and her face. Yeah. I think that's really important for me. And I missed her. Sorry, Sam.
Take your time, honestly.
I was in Blood Brothers, and in the heart of my career, I haven't talked about this actually, I don't think, with anybody. And my friend Mark rang me and he said, I was on the train home, and I was on for Eddie that week. I was understudying one of the leads, and and bearing in mind this at the time was my, I'm in a West End show, I'm playing my first lead in a West End show, and he rang me. I was on the train home, and he said, my dad's died. He suddenly died. And I didn't do anything. I carried on doing the show. I didn't go to the funeral because I was in the show. And at that time, and I look back, and I'm really disappointed in myself, in Craig in that chapter, and I think that's why I go back to this moment with my mum, and it was a huge, just to be able to go, this is what's important now, and for the work that I do now, to be able to go and do that for people and be there is huge for me, and what I would say in this chapter that I'm way more happy about. Sorry, I wasn't. I wasn't. It's funny, isn't it, when you sit here and you with the lights and the cameras and the
Have you spoke to Mark about that? Or,
Not properly. I'm staying with him this weekend, actually. He's when I do the marathon. Yeah. Yeah, I will, and I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Just because, like, we often, the stories we sometimes tell ourselves about, and maybe beat ourselves up about a situation that it might not necessarily. It's obviously our feelings, and that's okay. But sometimes to acknowledge them and then be able to speak about them, that the other person is not thinking that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not maybe thinking those.
It's just how you can get your priorities so wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a show.
But and listen,
Yeah.
I really get, I really understand, but I guess again, all we can do, I think, what I've come to realise, and certainly all the conversations I've had with so many people, I think there's something that stayed with me was we just do the best we can with what we've got at that time, right? And with the skills and where we are as and it's all about, and the flip side, it's something you strive so long for, and you're there and you're doing them things, you know what I mean? And you're living your dream and all of them things that are there's again, back to that word balance, right? It's trying to get that balance, and how do we, and all we can do, like I said, we can just do the best we can with what we've got at that time, and we, like you said, we maybe learn from them, and we go, oh, maybe I wouldn't have acted in that way if that situation, something like that comes around again, and you wouldn't. But
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. But that's part of me, how I would define myself as this chapter is.
This feels more success.
Is it successful? I don't know whether it's the right.
But that's what I mean. How do you? Yeah, and this is what I mean. It's so fascinating. Even the question, like, what is success? What does it mean to be successful?
I'd go back to that balance and control, to be able to be in charge of,
to have agency over our life, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, and not necessarily. Like with our businesses, they're in a really good place. For us to live a comfortable life, but I don't want to expand them. I don't want to grow them, because I'm able to jump on a train and go to see my mum. And if we expand, what does that look like? If I think it is. It's, for me, it's balance and being able to do all the other things really, really well, and not feel guilty, and being a good friend. And I wasn't a good friend, because I think I would look back at, if it was the roles were reversed when my dad died, I think I'd have been really upset. But I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like, if you was, again, to explore when you say, but what if you was to ask, because and again, I appreciate that we've known each other for a few years, but I've not known you a huge amount compared to our lifetime. But I'm sure if you asked, he would say what a good friend you are. And
Maybe not.
But no, but
Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you look at that and go, we sometimes hold on to them one thing that you think, it's not made me a good friend, but in so many other aspects that you would be.
It's funny, isn't it, as well, with how quickly we can contact each other at the moment, and that's the other thing is that do you do enough? Are you in contact enough with everybody? Am I there? Am I there for people? And it's.
But I think
again,
it's for me. It's getting that balance, because life is busy, right? And we can't ignore that. We all live in the world. And we've all got, a lot of us have, especially we've got families as well. When you go, actually, that's maybe obviously I want to be there for my family. I want to be there for friends. I want to be there, and it does. I guess the whole "You Alright Mate" campaign is trying to a reminder to get people to just go, oh, I haven't spoke to that person before. I'll check in on them and see how maybe that helps. I try and remind myself to do it as well sometimes. But we do live in these busy. I think the question is, the people that you hope that you've built relationships with over the course of the years, you know that I haven't spoke to that person for 6 months, 6 years, whatever it's been, but I could pick the phone up tomorrow and ask them to be there because I really needed them and they would be there. Yeah. Or we could pick the phone up to you, Craig, I really need you to be here, and you would drop it and you'd be there. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's the thing. So it's not necessarily the thing of, oh, God, I need to keep in contact with everybody all of the time, because it's not feasible all the time. Right? But
and it could be an experience thing as well of, I was probably 26, 27, 20 years on, and you again, like I said, it's a different chapter, isn't it? It's a different chapter. But
like you say, I guess you assess certain things, and you've done, and that's just part, like you said, it's always the thing. Again, back to the question, who am I? I wonder when is it too early to ask that question? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it, I'm going in, obviously you work with kids, and I'm keen to explore that. I'll go into schools at the minute, and I'm trying to teach some values and emotional literacy, and we're talking about these type of subjects. And is it too young to ask kids? Like, do you know who you are? Of course you don't at 10, but can you identify behaviours and values maybe at a young age to help? With the work you do with kids, I'm keen to, what do you think about that?
I think, I mean, firstly, I massively admire what you're doing, going into schools and asking them what they define, success. It is, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of, it's money, it's putting a YouTube video on and getting adverts to pay for my life, and getting that quick fix.
Million followers.
Get your million followers, and so, sorry, going back to the question, what was the question in the sense that, are you talking about what?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to identify what work you do with kids. When is it too young to start asking maybe those questions about values? Who am I? Maybe that's the main thing. I wonder whether, like, we're sitting here now, and even the work I've done with men in the men's groups, like, you can tell some of them have never really looked at what are my values as a person.
You see, I always say that when I teach, so from like 7 upwards, I always start with, like, I teach drama, so it's a lot of fun and play, and I think a lot of kids, unfortunately, now have forgotten how to play. We have a no mobile phone policy in the theatre workshop, which can sound like really strict and but it's so important for us, because you can see that what one message can do to a kid, even in break. They have to ask if it's an emergency to go on their phones at break, and it sounds like quite a strict rule, but it's, a teacher came in and went, "Oh, what's different here?" And I was like, "I'll let you work it out." She's like, "Oh, nobody's on their phones. They're just having conversations and playing games. And this is in a 10-minute break." I only have them for an hour. It's not like I'm a primary school teacher that I get them for the same kids for that length of time. But I think as a teacher, like, I have no problem. Like, obviously I got a bit upset before. If I got upset in a session, I'd explain to them why, and it has happened. If somebody's moved me, it's me. I am trying to be as close to me as a teacher, that being authentic and showing them. I probably have like 5% of my classes are is male and against a kind of 95% female. And I've no problem with them seeing me get upset, especially if somebody's done an incredible piece of work. But telling them and telling each other that they're brilliant. That's something in drama as well, and in the arts that you sometimes just remember the one bad review. One person in that class might not like what you've done, but the other 19 love it. So tell them, put your arm around them and go, that was phenomenal. You moved me today. You were so funny in that improvisation. They need to be told and to be able to share positivity. And if somebody does something brilliant, tell them. And that's my thing. And if they're funny, laugh at them. Don't hold in your laughter, and laugh at yourself. And that is one of the things that I start with in the drama studio. I take the mick out of them, and sometimes I push it, and I push and push, and I'm like, can I go a little bit further? Like the other day, one kid I was talking about something quite serious in the, like, we're going to be going into this big theatre, and then this boy just went. Now, at that moment, as a teacher, you go, that's not allowed. That's rude. I know that you've pushed that out. You've done that on purpose. Instead, the conversation, the kids all know that they can laugh.
Yeah.
He doesn't get embarrassed by it. And I was like, what did you have for your lunch? And we talk about it, and he's laughing at himself. And it's a place where, I like to think, you create a place where that's okay. I mean, that might not be the rules at home. And I might have a parent go, so what, they're just allowed to fart in your room? But it's not about that. It's about that they're not afraid to, they're not afraid to do something that is going to draw attention to themselves, and that we celebrate that and enjoy that and laugh, and tell each other that, like what you do, Sam, as well. I can tell you, like, this message, this "you're right, mate." It's fantastic. It's so easy to just go, I'll let somebody else do it, and you're not doing that. You're doing it yourself, and you've got a mission, and other things have been put aside because of your mission, and it's really important, and it's important for people to tell you that you're brilliant, and you're brilliant, mate. So, as well as you're right, mate. You're doing a cracking job, and that's really important. I don't think people just kind of go on and tell you the bad stuff, and then unfortunately the bad stuff can stick. Yeah. So
I'm grateful for that, but it really, because I think what's come out of a couple of the focus groups for me has been that, right? Like, actually, what did I want you, right, mate, to be? It was going to be, like, are you checking, say, is someone okay? And you want to say, but actually, it's not just that. And a few of my posts recently were like, you're right, mate, can be that, right? Can be like, I just want to tell you I love you today.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you today. I want to tell you how fucking brilliant you are, or something like that. And what I love about what you were just talking about there is that, because I do feel that potentially, within normal education compared to like a theatre workshop, like where what you're doing, like that message that they're getting, to be able to play, to be able to be curious, to be able to have fun and laugh at themselves and stuff. Because actually, even as adults, right, life can become so serious.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess the beauty of the arts, the beauty of theatre, the beauty of doing what you do and being in that environment, like, just allows you to have fun, I guess. Yeah. And I'm sure there's other roles that you're playing that are really serious, and that's part of the role. But like, ultimately, if you can, I loved it when you mentioned that to me yesterday. You go, we just get the kids to laugh at themselves. You've got to have that
laughter and play. And it's back to when you take your babies to a group. What do? You sing, and they play, and then that can get taken away. I had a student who hadn't got into drama school until they were, like, a lot of people, if they don't get into school by the time that they're 23, can go, maybe this isn't for me. This guy was still going at 24. I had a few sessions with me, and I just went, I think I know what's going on. I went, you've forgotten to play, so let's mix it up. And he's like, God, yeah, because I'm so in my head. He's thinking about the next thoughts of his Shakespeare. Like every thought has been so programmed that what if we set this on a tube, or why don't we set this so that you're stuck to your chair? What does that then make you do? Do it eating a packet of crisps, because then you'll forget about all of your acting intentions. And he's just like, oh, I forgot to play. And I mean, and it sounds like, well, this is magic. But he then got into LAMDA, one of the best drama schools. And it can be just a tiny thing. And it wasn't me just going, you play. He had an amazing drama teacher as well. But he just got inside his head a bit. And we all need to be reminded of that. It really reminds. I remember interviewing. I was talking with Leon Taylor, who is Olympic silver diving medalist. Yeah. And he talked a lot about. He went through like they didn't get a medal at the Olympics, and then he injured his shoulder and he was out, and he went into a real spiral of almost depression. Yeah. He was in a really tough place. But exactly what you just meant really reminded me. He said, "No, Mark." He said, "I remember sitting there and I was in pain. I was getting really upset." And my coach said to me, like, "Why do you do this?" Because I love diving. He said, "Well, like, you don't seem like you've enjoyed it the last few times. Yeah. Like, what is it about diving you love? Like, you just lost that love of diving, right? You've lost the joy of it. Like, why do we do it?" And he used I think it was, I can't remember who said the quote, but he said it to me, and I can't remember the guy that said it originally, but it was, I'll get it wrong probably, but it's along the lines of, we don't grow, we grow up, we don't grow old. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. I think that was it. Yeah. Something along them lines. Maybe. Yeah. But well, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're on. I think we're on. But that's it. You know what I mean? We grow old because we stop playing. And when is it that you go that? What age does society get hold of us where we go, oh, we can't do that now. Can't muck about now and do that because you're serious now. Got to go and get a job or whatever it is. Yeah. And I guess I wonder whether just being around theatre and doing the stuff you do, that you've got that in your life, right? Yeah, you've got that in your life,
and hopefully gone into my children. Like my eldest Amelie, if we're at, at Christmas with the family and things like that, she will keep going until we play like Last One Laughing or Werewolf or these games. And it can put adults in a situation because they're like, oh, I've got to really try, and I've got to play. Oh, it's just easier to sit here. And Becky and I don't go, Amelie, stop now. No, we just want to sit and chill. We're like, you keep going until everybody plays this game.
I love it.
Because the easiest thing to do is to sit and chat, isn't it? Yeah. But to actually play and as a drama teacher, it's quite integral to my to my job.
To allow them the freedom to do that, right? To allow and to give them, because I mentioned this the other, something that's really coming up for me as you're talking and I'm listening to it, is that joy of life, right? Like that's what and again, go right back to the beginning when we're talking about the emotion that theatre or performing evokes in you, right? Yeah. Like being around that, and whether it's watching film or theatre or whatever it is, or you go to a live concert, where there's something there, the joy in life, and I know, like I spoke to a guy who come on recently. I remember speaking to him about it, and I feel like I really appreciate the space I'm in at the moment. I'm talking about some really big, important subjects like suicide and mental health and stuff, and it is really. And I'm really passionate about it, and I'm driven, and I want to make a change, and I want to make impact, and I appreciate they're really big subjects. The same token with that, I don't want my identity to be wrapped up in that. Yeah, I want to be, because I'm still me. Yeah, right? I'm still Sam. I still love having a little bit of a laugh and a joke, and I'm that guy. Yeah, and I still want to be that guy, and I think this is where like I'd be really keen to explore around the whole identity piece. Like we get sometimes caught up in an identity. And that's who I am now, and I've got to be that person all the time. Like where. And for me, like seeking that joy in life, like I mentioned to you the other day, I played football for the first time in 8 years. Like, I can't tell you the feeling of that. Right? I was rubbish because I hadn't played for 8 years, but there was little glimpses that maybe there's a little saying in the locker, but it was just being on that pitch again.
Yeah.
And that was where it used to light me up. That was my theatre stage.
Yeah.
Where I used to love it, and it just used to light me up. And whatever it is, and the guy who I was talking about when he was on, a guy from he runs a organisation called Out of Puff Daddies, and they've been on Strictly. They're just these dads who got on stage at one of their kids' theatre things, and they've just done a bit of a dad dance, and they've gone viral over thingy. They've Out of Puff Daddy been on Strictly and all sorts. You know what I mean? Amazing guys. But he said every Wednesday we meet up and we dance and we muck about and dads, and it's just joy, and you can see the joy and the stuff they do. And obviously he does mental health talks now, and it's really the whole essence of it is focused around mental health, because that's helped him through at that time. But the key message was the seeking of joy in life, and listening to you talk and the kids and what you create there is that's what we can't. I wonder within society that we just get so wrapped up in the seriousness of life sometimes that we miss the joy.
And I think that's why, you know, like choirs are so important at the moment, and just the arts in general. I think we talked before we started the podcast in how important the arts are for not being so serious and for the escape. And I talked about, I think about that theatre, I think, is going to blow up because it's real. I think we're all going to start because of the AI revolution. We're all going to crave live theatre, and to create live theatre is the most exciting thing ever, whether you go into theatre or not. And the skills that you get taught to play, you're basically, you know, you're getting paid to play. And I think that's why it's so attractive, the you know, the arts. And, you know, I remember getting my first paycheck and I was like, what? I can get paid to play a character and get clapped. What? I mean, that's the dream, right? Yeah. But what we talked about before, and that's what your whole podcast is about, is that when I look back at that chapter, what was I like as a friend? Was actor Craig as caring and kind that I'd like to think chapter 2 Craig is, who now runs performing arts schools and has a bit more control and balance. And
but again, do you have to? This is again back to that thing I was saying about when is it too young and all that. Because do you have to go through those things? Do we have to? And like you said, like I wonder what that feeling of standing on that stage and having that adoration, that's the top of the mountain, right? That's you know, football lifted a World Cup or an FA Cup. You know, won an Olympic gold medal. You stood on a stage in the West End in a lead role and had thousands of people clap it. Like, what? Take us back to that feeling of. That's because a lot of people I've spoke to have achieved that. They go, but then afterwards there's fleeting. That's why success is a feeling, right? Because it's fleeting. You get that feeling of success and I've worked for all my life to get to this stage, and actually it's that. Yeah. But do you get, because you're on a stage, you get that throughout the show on regular basis, right? Just talk to us about that feeling, I guess.
So I think. So my first West End show was The Mousetrap, and I understudied the two lead parts in a show that's now in its 76th year. I was in it in its 50th year, which was an incredible year to be there with the Queen visiting and Duke of Edinburgh, Richard Attenborough, who created the role of Trotter. I remember my first night as Trotter, which is the lead. He's the policeman in The Mousetrap. And I don't really remember it now. I remember getting the words wrong at the end. I did the whole show. And I remember being stood there and going, but I remember it being such a mission to get to that moment. When I got the applause, I don't remember that wasn't a moment for me going, oh, I've made it.
Yeah.
It was that moment. The moment I got that was when I walked into my first rehearsal on the stage, and I walked in through the stage door and I walked onto the stage and I went, oh, I've made it to the West End. Like, this is my first, that's my first job. And that was really, really special. The most special show for me was Blood Brothers, but not Blood Brothers in the West End, actually, was Blood Brothers on tour. Because that show is, when you take it to places like Wolverhampton and Birmingham and Liverpool, which is where it's set, it's a working class, like, gritty show. And I won't be ruining it for people, but when you die at the end, as our characters do, and then you're there for about 7 minutes while they sing Tell Me It's Not True, and you are you've had all this adrenaline because you've done the last scene. I've been like, there's a gun on me, and you're crying, and you're just like, and you've made it through the show, and then you get shot, and you can just hear your Mrs. Johnston, tell me it's not true, and then you can hear in the audience people like sobbing and crying, and then you stand up and you are met with a full standing ovation in that show every single night. For 3 years I did it on and off, and then you leave through the stage door, and some nights you'll just go home and you just lie in bed and you're like
wow.
And it's like a drug. That's why lots of people go drink and go to the pub afterwards and unwind.
Yeah.
So that feeling is phenomenal. And any performer that says, you do it, you love being, it's that extrovert, playing that character, being clapped, getting a standing ovation, making people laugh. It's really, really powerful. But I going back to, the most special moment I've had on stage is not in my professional career. It was my first night as Jean Valjean in Les Mis for Brighton Theatre Group at the Theatre Royal.
Why was that so special? Because of the role?
The role was an absolute monster. Like, it's like the Iron Man of musical theatre. It just does not stop vocally.
Yeah.
And whilst I played leads in shows, there's leads, and then there's that leading man in that show. I don't think I'd ever had the final bow on my own before. I think I'd always come down as number 2 or number 3 in shows, and there's no music through all those bows. And I stood in the wings, and you're with 80 people who are there for the love. Like, they all love it, and you're just, people hugging you, and I've never had that feeling. Like, when you're in a pro show, people have done it. They're there, they've trained, they're there. And I was stood the last one to walk on stage, and I walked out from stage left to the centre stage, and then this music starts on my cue of walking down. And I just looked up to everyone, 1,000 people in that theatre stood up. And I just went, like, I was like, and I was like trying to, you're trying to have every little ounce of that moment of going, oh, this is magic. And then I got to the stage door, and my daughter was coming the next night. She saw it that night, and she went, I loved it, Daddy, but at the end, can you not do that face in the bows?
Kids are a leveler, right?
Yeah, and brought me right back down to earth. But that was my moment. And I said to the producer, Keith, who, incredible bloke, I just said, thank you for giving me my best moment on a stage ever. And he kind of went, what? Knowing my career, which was, and I went, thank you. I was like, it was everything. And it doesn't make me want to go back. It doesn't make me.
That's what I mean. I'm interested to explore that a little bit, like, because to get that high and that buzz, how do you walk away from that and then you go, I don't need to do that anymore. I've had that. Like, is there enough of that you've captured it to go?
That's probably why I then signed up for the London Marathon. I needed another goal that's not going to give me the same thing. But that's when when I did it, a part of me doing it as well as to go, I probably had 600 people come and just see me in that 2 weeks, like students, parents, my customers who are like, right, put your money where your mouth is then. And that was a wonderful thing to be able to do, and to get to stage door and just see so many of my wonderful kids that I teach, and them going, oh, okay, you're
pretty good at this.
You can do it. But also showing them that it doesn't come easy. They know the work that went in, and I made sure I sang through that show every day. And I think when you asked me before about, who am I? I'm Jean Valjean. I would like to think I'm a person that turns up on time, and that I'm professional, and that a person that you want to be in the room with. And I think I got a lot of my work, not because I was the most talented, because there's some incredible people out there, but because you want me in your company. And I say that to my students all the time. You can be the most talented person in here, but I wouldn't have you in my company if you're not kind and not generous. And that's how I got most of my professional work, because I like to think I was a good company member, and I go above and beyond to make sure that everybody else is having a good day. And I think that is really, really, really important. And in the cast of Les Mis, we had this joke of, I am the mayor of this town. We did we went in costume around Brighton, and one of my things on social media was to shout, I am the mayor of this town. And it's this thing that stuck. But I saw my kind of role as well in the company is also to lead by, you're always here on time. You're always listening. You have respect for the people that are above you in this, because they've got a job to do, and be a good company member. It's so important. But turning up on time, like I panicked today. I was on the bus. I was going to cycle in, and then I was like, I'm stuck in that by sea life there. And I was like, so I'm messaging you, because I'm like, I don't want Sam to think that I'm one of these people that can just turn up late. This is important. And it's that classic, if you turn up on time, you're late. If you turn up 15 minutes before you're on time. And it's really, really, really important, that company member and being part of that team.
What a brilliant message, because I can imagine, and I guess I'm maybe stereotyping it, I don't know, but I can imagine there's within the industry, whether it be theatre, film, whatever, within the industry, because of those type of roles, and because again we go and we'll talk a little bit about in a bit while about confidence and stuff, and that is that there potentially is the feeling of ego can come into play. I guess with some people, right? Like say you're on stage, but to have the mindset that you have and the values that you have, again back to who am I and those values and that behaviours that I want to exhibit. And I think, like, for me, this is where I do feel that if we can get to kids early, and these are the type of things we're teaching them.
Yeah.
That has such a impact on society, on when we talk about mental health, whatever on people as individuals, that we can really understand that. Because I can imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, but within the industry, there must be, is there egos? What in your experience, the people you've been around?
Yes. I work with Tommy Steele, and this is like somebody that was a movie star, in the 50s and 60s, and I'd heard some horror stories about Tommy Steele. If Tommy's listening, watches this, with his ego, and because he was a huge star, and so I remember the first day going into rehearsal, and I did a scene with him, and he went, "You're allowed 3 mistakes." I was like, "Oh my gosh, what?" But luckily for me, I'd come prepared. I'd learned my lines, but I started to, go, "Oh, yeah," and I didn't know whether he was being serious or not, because this is my first interaction with this guy. Anyway, he is somebody that you hear lots of stories about. And then I stood on the Palladium stage with him in our tech rehearsal, is when it can take like 16 hours a day, and you're there for 3 days getting all the things right, lighting, everything like that. And he's talking to me about, like, I think I just asked him a question. I said, "What were you doing at my age?" He dropped like Elvis Presley into the conversation, and then he went, he said, "Yeah, I was in Oxford this one time, and I stormed into this theatre. Nothing was ready, and I just annihilated the crew." My show was at the other theatre in Oxford, and again, he's able to laugh at himself, but he's a person that you perhaps you wouldn't mess with, and he was the boss. But everybody, we just go, "Wow, you've earned that."
Yeah.
And it was always, down to him. But I think things have changed now, that, if you are playing a lead in a show, you have a role. And of course, that confidence can also come as with an ego. I think we discussed this a little bit yesterday, of like when somebody gives me a compliment, I kind of go, "Thank you." And let it sit and use it as building blocks. And I say to the kids, like, use everything somebody says nice to you is little, just let that build up, build up, build up, build up. Don't just go, "Oh no, I'm not. Oh no, that was rubbish. I was rubbish." Like, because you'll need it for the next time you sing or do a monologue or perform. You have to have, as a performer, you almost have to have an ego, or a confidence to be able to open your mouth and go, "I'm good. Listen to me."
I just wanted to take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors, Nostos, an authentic experience of Greece right here in the heart of Hove. In a world brimming with dining options, finding that one place that captivates your palate and heart isn't always easy. It's about more than food. It's the stories, the ambience, the slice of another world. This is the essence of Nostos, an award-winning Greek restaurant. With traditional recipes passed down through generations, each dish promises a story and a piece of heritage. And Nostos is more than just a restaurant, it's a community contributor. Each dining experience supports initiatives close to their heart, from local charities to cultural events, enriching Brighton and Hove's social fabric. They also provide catering services, bringing Greek cuisine to your personal events. For a taste of Greece without leaving town, visit nostos-hove.co.uk. And when you do go, say Sam recommended the feta nests. Oh my God, they are amazing. But see, what I found fascinating, that's why I was so fascinated about that yesterday, because we were sitting around a table, 10 of us, and everyone shared similar in the sense around maybe some insecurities around self-worth and confidence, right? All doing good things in their own way. Like you mentioned Carol and people like that. Some people have done amazing things right around that table. Great business success, or just great people. Some great people in that room. We're all talking, but a lot of us identify and lack of self-love, right, and confidence in ourselves. And what I found fascinating was your take on that around the confidence side and what you've just shared with us then. And that, for me, again, not just kids that you're teaching in the theatre workshop. How can we teach those type of behaviours to our kids in schools? Why is that not one of the prime things that we should be teaching in schools?
I think I said, didn't I? I think yesterday I was probably guilty of loving myself a bit too much, which I know was Becky, if Becky was here now, she would, certainly rein me in. I know that there's an ego there, and I know I can talk about myself a lot, and sometimes, but I will now go, oh God, did I actually listen to that person, or did I just talk about myself? Oh no, I didn't ask that. And then I'll message them and say, but I do think, it's really important to have that confidence and to
love yourself.
To love yourself. Absolutely.
That for me is I think the thing I struggle with the most. I don't, and I'm trying to unpack that. And I listen to you. And because one thing you just mentioned about compliments, I remember someone saying, when I've done the very, very small scale, but the closest I can come to standing on the stage. And when I've done my 100th episode, I've done the private screening. There was 150 people in a little thing in Ironwork Studios, but everyone stood up and clapped, and the feedback I got was overwhelming. And it was, and I can only say I probably 1% of what you felt when you're standing at a Palladium. Do you know what I mean? But that's why I relate to that. Yeah, it's relative, but that's what I can relate it to, right? So I go, if I could capture that moment, if I could capture that thing. And one of the people who'd been on the podcast, and he mentioned to me about giving me a compliment, and why we automatically, someone compliments me, like you just mentioned, the first thing I do is go, "Oh, don't be silly."
You did it before when I said about. I complimented you before, and you looked down and you went, "Yeah."
I can't tell you. And he said to me, imagine if someone giving you a gift. Someone's giving you a gift. If a kid was giving you a flower, and that was the compliment, you wouldn't pick it and go, "Okay, yeah," and put it on the floor and stamp on it, would you? You wouldn't do that. You'd take it. And as much as that really, and he was there on the night, and he was like, "You've got 150 people here for you, because we love what you're doing and love and see you and validate you. Can you realise how brilliant you are?"
Yeah.
And I said to him, "I'll take that as a gift, thank you." And he said, "Just say thank you," like you just mentioned. Just say thank you.
Yeah.
But why is it inherent in us that we don't do that? Why? Because listening to you talk, I was wondering, is that just for performance? Is it just for that you get that confidence by going to a bit of theatre, and you've got to build that up, and that's a skill that's just for that type of person, or whether it be athletes maybe. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to unpick that, because we lived in a society. So I'll ask a question in a minute. Are we living in a society so much where, especially from a working class background, that I can't show off a bad thing. I can't say I'm really good at something. I can't be good. So I'll put myself down as opposed to doing it. Is that where we are? So wouldn't it be better if we promoted the confidence?
And I think I think I said to you at the start is that I don't want to sit here today. I'll be very uncomfortable to watch this back and go, "Oh God, you just talking about all the good things, and you're just talking about what a perfect human being you are," because I'm not. But it is that. So when you give me a compliment, that you'd never go, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I am absolutely brilliant." Because then you cross over to arrogance, don't you?
Yeah.
But it is like a battery that I store it. I have a student that waits for me every Friday night by the door. I've got to walk to my drama studio. She's done it since she started at the theatre workshop, and she holds my hand all the way all the way down to the drama studio. She's just done it. I don't know when it's going to stop and when it's not cool for her to be holding her drama teacher's hand. But for me, that is like what you said, that's a gift. That's her. She's got total trust in me. She's really excited about my lesson. So I go, there's a bit of power in the battery. If I'm having a day where I'm like, oh, I want to teach, but she's waiting for me and she's excited about this. And I think if you how do we train ourselves to fill a battery, our confidence battery, or what can you use as another analogy or a metaphor to take them instead of going, oh, no,
is that
I'm
something
not.
you think you can? Obviously, it's something you teach to kids, right? You're dry.
I would say to them, next time you sing, you go to open your mouth, remember a compliment, or write it down. But it's not going to happen, is it? But it's almost like, you want to give them like like in the Scouts and the things like that you get a badge.
Yeah.
It's almost like you want to just give them a tick, give them I mean, we have Star of the Week at Theatre Workshop, which for 15, 16-year-olds you'd think would sound a bit babyish, or when my Group 3s get Star of the Week, they love it. Like, you think the Group 1s, the 7, 8-year-olds are like, Mum, I got Star of the... They celebrate. They celebrate each other. They're like, whoa, it's gone to a Group 3. It's this amazing thing, which I thought they'd be like, throw it in the bin. They don't. They put it up on their wall. You can maybe create those Star of the Weeks by getting given. Learn to take the compliment without in your own way. Like, if that battery thing works, I don't know.
I just think, I look at, and all the people I talk to on here talk about some of the challenges they face and stuff, and yet, like, I think so much of it, and it highlighted it. It was like yesterday couldn't have been a better example. It highlighted for me that 10 of us sitting there, and all 9 of us were like talking about self-love or not really loving themselves that as much as we potentially could have done. And I'm not sitting here going, you go, I just love myself in that way, but using the skills that you've mentioned, I think look, all of the conversations I'm having now of going, how do I relate this to the mental health crisis we're in? How do I relate it to the suicide rate? How do I have an impact in some way there? And I really truly believe that what you said yesterday and what we've just highlighted here, that moves the needle. We start giving skills to kids at a young age around that. Because I'll do it with my kids. Like I mentioned, like with the little lunchbox letter things I do. Like, so much of those, there's different messages that go throughout, but self-love's a big one. To love themselves, and I'm like, I'm not doing that myself, right? But I'm trying to teach them that, and I'm going, well, I've got to do that myself. And why is it we just cannot take that? But I love it, and so much of the stuff I do is reframing. How do we reframe what it means to receive a compliment?
Yeah. I think it's a huge thing, and I, like where it starts at primary school, it's very difficult, isn't it? They've got 30 kids in a class, and to make sure that every single one of them, that you're going round and giving compliments all the time, it's not gonna work. But it is that's why I love what I do, I suppose, in the sense that I know that all the children want to be there. So I'm in a lucky place that, but some kids do come in sad, they do. And you can fix that by, even if you just say, well, how are you? Or you did brilliant today, but just remembering to do that. And some of the best teachers that we have, that I work with, are the teachers that come with no, again, with this word ego, that they're not pretending to be anybody else. They're being their authentic selves, which is no barrier for the kids to get through. So the kids are like, hey, I can fart in your class. Or that's bad. That's a bad thing to say. But if you're being you and they trust you as who you are, instead of coming in and being like, I'm going to be somebody different when I'm teaching, or if you get that trust with them, you get them laughing at themselves, you get them believing in themselves, you get them being brave, you get them being committed, you're winning, and then you can get something incredibly fantastic in performance, in an exercise, where the kids trust you so much and trust everybody around them, that where the miracle of performance happens, when you're in a safe, trusting, brave environment. And again, because they know that you think that they're great, and that believing in themselves to go and do that. I think that's,
and there's something. Is there something in that, like the belief thing? I mean, I remember sharing it a little while back, saying about like, when you don't believe in yourself, or am I believe in you, or something. I mentioned to the kids, and I was like, there's something magical in that. Like you talk about right? There's going to be day, because we're highlighting a lot of the stuff, like from a confidence point of view, and all the things and it's great when things are going well, and I think within the theatre, and you won a big job, and you understand, but. You mentioned right at the start, one of the things you said was about there's 2% of the people come through your school will actually be on that West End stage, right? So
the stat is at drama schools is that when I was there, this is what they were telling, is that they would say 96% of you in this room won't be working actors, and you're at a top drama school, so only 4% will be working. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but a lot of people, last a couple of years and then go, I've got to do something else, because you can't survive in London when you're not performing. So you have to go and do something else.
Because then, and even, I guess, out of those 4% that do make it, there's even then, like you said, the bad reviews and the criticism that you and the amount of auditions you'll go for that you don't get. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that. Again, I'm looking at skills that relate to life in general, and you go like the resilience that you must. The
resilience of a performer. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah. I mean, the last job that I did, I think Twitter was probably just coming in. I know it's 2012. I don't remember somebody messaging me privately and telling me what they thought of my performance, but people in the audience can tell you now in the interval what they think of you. It's you can get reviews, like that. But I think the 3 years at drama school, you are trained, to cope with, doing 8 shows a week consistently. It's everyone's got to be the same, because everyone's paid the same money. But it is, don't think they can teach you about resilience. And I don't know how many jobs I've auditioned for and not got. And if I let that sink in my next audition, that's when the battery can, I suppose, start to drop a little bit. And because if you keep getting rejection, it's how you deal with that. We're having it with our daughter, with Emily at the moment, is that she's a budding performer. She auditions, but she seems to be, you just play it down and go, well, let's forget about that one and move on. But you keep an eye on it to go, how many times can you be rejected before it starts to affect her at the age of that she is.
But is it again? Because she's had success as well, right? We watched her on the stage at Brighton the year or a few months before you, right?
She's just doing she's done an episode of Casualty, which is very exciting for her. So it is. It's a rocky road, but you have to keep yourself.
But again, that message that you're sharing, which I think is great one. So, because them times where she has been on that stage and she had that feeling that you did for John Valjean, right? She's been on the stage, she's had that. So that adds to her battery, and she got compliments until so that's her battery's up here, and then like you said, that might maybe get knocked down with a few rejections and a few auditions that she's not got, and that will get knocked down, and then she'll get another gig and it goes up, and it's just I just love the reframing of it, and the battery analogy or whatever it is, but it's just that. I do think there's so much. Look, we're relating it to performance and being on a stage or succeeding in an industry.
Yeah.
But that underlying lesson for me is something that just runs across life in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's it's really, really important. I've got friends, Sam, that have become, like I obviously became a parent and retired effectively at 32 from the industry. I've got some friends I massively admire that, are bringing up their families and they're still working in this industry. And you essentially you're leaving for London at 4:00 when your kids get home, and you have all that pressure and to get a full night's sleep, but that's what brings in the family wage, and to do that as well is massively admirable. And again, we talk about resilience is huge in any industry, isn't it? I think it's a good word.
Yeah. No, I wonder with we mentioned earlier about social media and like that validation. I wonder whether that word validation. I felt that night validated, right? When I was talking about that 100, I felt validated by people, and there's something that why we, as a performer, is that something that you crave, like that validation? It's external validation, though, right? And how do you get the balance between that and the internal validation for yourself?
What now?
Yeah, I
Once
guess
I've had that.
Yeah. Because like you said, you're talking about it being a drug earlier, but you go, like that validate, but how do you, in day-to-day life, just go, I get to a point where I've had all this validation from so many people, actually, but I don't need that because I validate myself. I know, and again, back to that confidence level of where you are, like, how does...
I think from being a performer is knowing that the highs and the lows are just all part of it. I mean, like I said, with my first job, The Mousetrap, I was drinking champagne in my dressing room on the Saturday. On the Monday, I was jumping up and down at my father-in-law's car parts business in Brighton in a bin. And I was jumping up on this car and I went, what's happened? What's happened here? But that's resilience, isn't it? That's part of it. And yes, there were dark times there. Like I didn't work, I think, for that year afterwards. I went from The Mousetrap for my first West End job, and then I worked for my father-in-law for, learnt a new skill, but not, but getting that validation in the West End and then going, well, I know I can do this because I've got that job. But learning very quickly that the highs and lows of this profession and managing that is very, very, is where you stick in, you stick at it. And I sometimes think that, did I leave the profession because of we had this discussion about my, being a good dad to my daughter, or did I go, I can't actually do there's probably part of that as well. It's unforgiving. You can be a self-tape away from being over everybody's TVs and hugely famous, or it can go to the person that you were down to the last two for, and you see their life change, and you can look back at that and go, I'm watching, that should have been me. I'd now be a millionaire. I'd now be successful. But you then have to reframe it, surely, and go, otherwise I'm going to spend my whole life moaning about that moment, that crossroads. So, yeah.
And again, back to the original question around success, right? The dictionary definition still being the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status, right? And there's still that element of that. But just talking about your career alone, right? That highlighting how successful you feel now and what that maybe looks like compared to back in your 20s when you have reached the fame and those things. So there's getting that again. I think you used the word initially. It's that balance, right, between that, because I think I'm really conscious of the conversations I have around this, and not that it goes, success is not about that. It's about this and internal and all of, and I do, obviously, I genuinely believe that. But the flip side to that is not to go, don't reach for that. Don't not reach for the stars and go, I want to be that person on that stage and be the best I can be and achieve those things. Because that is I think it's the balance maybe for me is that you don't, it's not about then delaying your putting everything on. If I don't get that, then I won't be happy or I'll be unsuccessful or a failure or whatever we frame it. It's trying to get that balance right. To be, I've had one thing I tell the kids is, and I'm sure like with yours, it's about, of course, follow your dreams and be as ambitious as you want to be, right? That's the dream big.
Yeah.
Right? Why not? Like, we'll get one go at this as far as we know.
Yeah.
Fucking go for it.
Yeah.
But no, they're loved, and just as they are, whether they get there or not. But
try and enjoy the journey, I suppose, as well. And see it as see everything. I link this to my running as well. I do quite a bit of running, and there's no such thing as a bad run. There's a learning run. Yeah. There's no such thing as a bad audition process. There's a learning audition process. If you can see it like that, instead of going I had one job that got away from me that I thought that I really, really wanted. I lost out in the last two in a part of my career. And I used to look back on it and go, even resent the guy that got the part over me. Like I saw him at a stag do. He's had a brilliant career. He's amazing. Yeah. He's incredibly talented. But I had a real issue with him because I thought I was better than him. And I thought, I can't understand why he got the part and I didn't. And then I saw his career. And then, so that's interesting, that actually revisiting that and talking about that now. I at that time, and then when I saw him a few years later, it was a problem for me.
Really?
But now, I just don't feel that. I don't feel that at all, and I massively respect what he's done in his career because he's phenomenal. And I'm not saying that mine would have gone in a completely different way, but it was just a show that I really wanted to do. And when you are down to the last two, it is almost, they are taking it away from you, and you're like,
yeah.
Then you do have to bounce back and crack on, and it's that resilience thing again, isn't it? And not bearing grudges and trying to move forward. And keeping that battery charged, I suppose. Charged.
I love that. Mate, there's a couple other bits I just wanted to touch on again. The performance side of stuff, like when you get into a role and, like you said, your life's about performing. But similar to what we sort of mentioned at the start, like how do you, in life, I guess we mentioned earlier about in life we do you think to a degree that we're all performing in life in general, like on a day-to-day basis, we're all wearing masks, we're putting what do you think about that from a performer's point of view, where you perform for a living, and then actually in life, is there any blurred lines between that? I perform here, so it's back to that authenticity piece, I guess, right?
That's a really good question, Sam. This takes me back to my A-level English language. I'm starting to panic.
Yeah.
I think with like with social media now and how much everyone is on camera, who is the, like I think I said to you before, am I being me now? Am I being Craig Whiteley now, or am I thinking people are going to watch this? So I need to filter my answers and be. If you and I were just, in our kitchen, is it an easier chat? Are we going to talk about, or would it be the same? So I think we're always performing, but and then the person that you are around, you probably a different version for when you're with your football mates, or you're with performing mates, or with. I like to. You like to think that you're always yourself, right? I mean, I think as you get older, you might have, I suppose when you're younger, that you might perform differently, I suppose, if you call it performance. And then as soon as people roll the cameras, I mean, they're some of the best screen actors, that when you hit rolling, that suddenly there's not a performance and you start talking differently, and everything becomes very serious, or that you are just you. And I think, I don't know, can you spot when people are performing too much, or are they genuine? Do you attract more people that are just so comfortable in themselves? I mean, that is a question and a half, actually, because one thing I do, if I'm with friends I do sometimes go back and go, oh God, did I say that? And I know I'll go home today and I'll go, oh, what? You're constantly analysing, and because now everything is documented and filmed, you have to be filtered. So I suppose is that a performance?
It's so hard, isn't it? Because I wonder whether, like, again, one of the pillars of success was authenticity that come up, right? Like, again, I referred to it at the beginning, referred to Bonnie Ware, not living a life true to ourselves. And what does that mean? Living a life in alignment with my values, right? Living a life in alignment with my values. So does that mean then? Because I remember speaking to a guy, Dr. Graham Curtis, and he mentioned about I think he was a French philosopher called Bourdieu or something. I can't remember what his name was. But he mentioned about something called habitus, where actually we go into different environments and we maybe perform in a different way, talk in a different way, because of the environment we're in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're being inauthentic. So I can be a different person in different environments, but still aligned with some of my values: integrity, kindness, love, curiosity. Have I gone back to my pals in Essex, in Dagenham, and we're having a bit of banter, and we're still that, but I'm still that version of Sam. Well, I'm this version of Sam here, and I'm that version of Sam over here. Does that mean I'm inauthentic, or does that mean I'm just for that environment?
Yeah.
That's where I guess there's that blurred line between the performance side of it. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're all performing all of the time in different areas, but
that's okay.
But that's okay, because if that performance is aligned with who you are, again, back to the who am I?
Yeah,
we had to get this in a few times, didn't we? Who am I? Why do you wear that shirt? You could have ripped. Yeah, but that is it. I think for me, I think I find that fascinating. I wonder whether that is it. Maybe in life, we all perform to a degree.
Yeah,
constantly.
And I think I certainly, my performance as Craig Whiteley has probably changed in my 2 chapters. I think, I remember going to weddings and you get put on a table with people that you don't know, and you know that the question's coming. What do you do? And you're like, I'm going to lead in a Western show. and running performing arts schools doesn't quite hit like that, but I'm okay with that, that like but I remember I used to sit there and go, I'm about to get the whole table looking at me, and everyone stops their conversations. What, you're it, and it did open so many doors, but it's also, I think about the other people sat on that table, like, in other professions that you go, it is a weird thing, and I'm probably like, and I'd be sat there going, "You're all getting paid way more than me." It just seems to be that it's got a bit of glamour around, around the being
the adoration
in the West End, but yeah, and that was, that probably that is a performance still, because you're talking about you and what you do, and that. But I think that's why it's really important to have somebody that reins you in. And my wife definitely does that. But for me, I need that. That's really, really.
I think we all do.
It's really important. It is really important for somebody to go. When you said that, you sounded like a right dick. And you go, okay, yeah. And that used to happen. Certainly. That I did have that, and I think from coming from a sports background and a theatre background, those two go really well together, because you're competitive and big-headed and egotistical, and I learned to hopefully manage them, to bring it down a little bit, to go, but still to use it in the right way, like you talk about. Before you then perform, to go, no, I've got this. I'm good enough to be and stood here. But yeah, certainly managing that, initially. There's probably a few people that were like, who's this knobhead? There might still be now after watching this.
I'm sure that's not the case.
I mean, when you're talking, Sam, like when you're referencing some of the people that you've had on here, and doctors and things like that. I'm like, here's me talking about stuff, and you question that, don't you? I certainly do, and go, what? I'm not saying anything. You want to be that person that's groundbreaking, that says really cool stuff, but it's also being at peace with just having a chat with your mate. And if anything lands today that people go, oh yeah, that's cool, I'm happy with that. Whereas as the performer in me wants to go, I need to make this the best podcast that's ever been on Sam's and I'm at peace that I go, I'm just having a chat. And I think that's something that I've learned, that you don't need to achieve all the time and be the funniest person in the room, be the best person in the room. Listen, like, it's really important to listen. Yesterday, I realized that sometimes people are, if someone's asked me a question, I'm like, I've not answered it because I've been thinking about what I'm saying to make me sound really good. And I'm like, why am I doing that? I don't need to do that. Just be authentic, be yourself. And that's me putting on a performance. So, because I want people to believe I'm a certain way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And that does make me think before I speak now. Not that I've had a revelation. I have done that for a while, going, oh, have I listened to them? Have I given them enough time, or am I just talking about my achievements and what I'm doing? And yeah, so
because I think it's really fascinating because I think all of us, we seek that, like, got to be. We live in a society that praises achievement and praises doing, performing, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But to have that element where you go, just to be, just here, just my presence and me just being me is enough.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And there hasn't got to be we mentioned it upstairs before we come down and start recording about outcomes. Like we're in a society where something's got to be measured, and there's got to be an outcome. We've got to do something to have an outcome of something. There's got to be that, and if it's not that, then it's a failure. No, actually, it's just sometimes it's just enough to be.
Yeah. To be you. Yeah.
Your presence is enough, and that is it. Like, of all of us, our presence in this world is enough, and that's okay. And to just sit with that and be, that's right. And we mentioned yesterday about contribution, and I feel like I need to contribute more. I need to do that. Actually, no, I'm enough.
Yeah.
And again, I think it ties, it all loops around and ties into the self-love and the self-care and, looking inward and all of them things that we've sort of highlighted over the course of the conversation. How important that is, how important that self-love is, how important that looking inward is, how important knowing that you're just another, and actually, taking those things and keeping that battery just topped up enough to keep going. But
it's that battery is vulnerable, I think, as well. And something I think I mentioned yesterday is that I've seen extremely confident performers get one bad review, and that battery can empty very, very quickly. And why, as human beings, do we hold on to 99 people tell you how brilliant you are? But I remember a review that I had. I had some lovely reviews, but the one that I remember, I can actually recite for you. I was in Belfast, and I remember exactly what it said. And why do I still remember that now? Why I can't recite any of the lovely ones that I had about how I delivered this role, but I can remember the bad one, and that's
why is that? Why?
Why? And why do people feel like they have to criticize? And do they realize when they hit enter, the impact? What? Yeah. They don't. They obviously don't.
They can't. And I think again, it's back to what you were saying earlier about you as a person, or actually just trying to bring your kids out and the things you teach within what company do I want to be in, coming from a place of kindness. Everything we do, everything we say, everything, can we, and you want to be honest and authentic and all of them things, but generally, surely the society and the world we live in, if we all come from a place of kindness, it would be a better thing, right? So before you said that and you pressed that button, is this coming from a place of kindness?
Can I do this differently?
Yeah. Those were the questions that we were getting people to ask. Like, what is going? And like you said, it's the same with bullies and things like that. You go, when you become quite self-aware, you sometimes can take yourself out of it and go, what's going on in their life for that to happen, right?
Yeah.
And that's not always easy, because we can get rolled up by certain things and go, hang on a minute, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, can we stop? Can we pause? Again, can we give kids these skills? Stop, pause, reflect. What's going on in that person's life for me to be? And sometimes people are just being dicks, right?
Yeah.
And that's acceptable. And we've got to understand that.
In my company, I work with my whole team around me is females. They'll work like in the office, and I'm usually upstairs because I'm terrible for just distracting everybody. But if an email of complaint comes in, or it comes directly to me, it's don't let Craig respond. Which for a really, I'm usually, quite passive and chilled out. But if I believe in something, and I believe that which is not the right response, so Becky's like, don't reply to this. Because as soon as you hit enter, you will regret it, because you're now going on emotion. So even if, they're challenging me on something that I know I'm absolutely 100% right at, and it's been a horrible email, it's really strong, and it's, you're this, you've done this right, you've done that. And my response would normally be, like I'm coming right back at you here, screaming right back in your face, which what is that going to do? It's going to make it worse. Can you would you stand up to that person and say that back? Well, I wouldn't, because I'm not a confrontation person. I would calm it, meet it with kindness. So, but why? And I've done it a few times, and I've sent some nasty, just as bad as them back.
Yeah.
It doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And that's where I've learned my lesson. And Becky's like, she says to me, just forward it to me and I will meet it with kindness and I'll send it back. Even though that's not what you want to do. And you might feel that they've won, Craig. They haven't won. But in my head, this sporty, competitive, I've lost. And that's a problem. That used to be a problem, because I'd be like, they've got one over on me. They think that they've... Yeah. And then you're like, well, what does it really matter?
It's being able to let go of that, isn't it? And it's not easy. I'm even talking to Kelly, she's possibly more like you, but she will react to something and be in that sense. But sometimes it's just being, it's that feeling of actually someone's got one over on you, like you said, back to competitiveness or whatever it is. It's something about having some, but it's actually just being able to, and it's listen. Again, I'm not sitting there going, I don't ever do that. Of course I do. I'll get wild up by stuff, and none of us are perfect, and that's what we've mentioned throughout the podcast. Right? But there is elements of, again, it's just. There's a quote from Charlie Maxine. It said, "Our greatest freedom in life is how we react to things." And I love that, and I'll take that in so many things. Like whether you're going through a tough time, how do I respond to that? We talk about, we mentioned our friend Matt, who come on the podcast.
Yeah,
got, terminal brain tumor, and his reaction to what has happened is just one of the most inspiring things I've seen, and so there's that side of it as well. But it's also in relation to this as well, what we're talking about, where someone can attack you and you go, how am I going to react to that? How do I take that on? Yeah, and it's a freedom to be able to let that, to absorb it, to what's going on in their life, and then I can let it go.
Yeah,
it's a balance to be had there, maybe.
Yeah, and going back to Matt. Yeah, Matt White. I don't think Matt's probably realised what a huge impact, on me, he's had. Both, right. In the sense of, I think he said to both of us, he said, if you say it, just do it. Yeah. And I think that's been huge. But also the participate. God, if we go back to that participate, I mean, that's been massive for me. I didn't realise what a miserable git I was when I was out in public or in the gym or just saying hello to people. You're like, God, that's not what that's not what I used to, even in that sense. When I watch my mum out and about, she looks like she knows everybody. Like in a theatre, I would say, do you know them? No, I just got chatting. Because she's just participating in their life. You're on the train, and sometimes you'd be like, "Oh, Mum, don't get stuck." But why not? Yeah. Why? We're human beings. Talk to each other. Find out about stuff. Yeah. Well, I love that old school. It's like my mum's not stuck in her phone. She wants to just chat to people.
Yeah, we're not all sitting on a bus like this. We're going to lift our head up and just go, oh, hi.
Well, that's the sad thing, isn't it? The school bus goes right past our house. And at my school bus, there'd have been fights and punches and kids throwing stuff. And all you see on those dark winter mornings is just faces just lit up. And they float past my house. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's a shame. And like you said, I think someone said to me on here a while back, they said, we're going to look back in 20 years' time and go, how the hell did we let...
And now they want to ban it.
Yeah.
You've given them the...
Yeah.
You've given them the carrot. So how do you pull them... Yeah,
it's a tough thing. But who knows?
It's a whole new podcast.
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah. Mate, as always, I love being in your company and chatting, and I know that for forever, I'm sure there'll be many more conversations that we'll have over a flat Whiteley and
Whiteley. Well, yeah, and again, I hope I said yesterday, I think as well. Yeah, you hope that any just one thing is maybe has landed, and it is such a great question. Is like, who am I? Who am I? In so many, who am I to sit here and make any impact? Like, it doesn't even matter if one person watches it or no people watch it, or you.
Well, okay, I'll put this back on you then. Actually, I'll take this. I always think for me, of course, there's elements of me that will go, I'd love this to have 1 million subscribers and this get more people, because I believe that the messages hopefully get. But all of that aside, I always think to myself on the podcast, and I can categorically say this certainly today, I'll sit here, and even if no one listened, like what I've taken from it, the lessons that I've learned, even just knowing you as I've done, and the type of person you are, and how much you inspire me, and in so many ways. And I think that what I've taken from today's conversation will be so much, and the fact I'll get to go back and listen to it and put a trailer together and go, God, that bit and that bit and that, there'll be so much gold that I can pick out, and for that I'm grateful.
I hope so, and thank you for this is a new experience, for me, and sitting down and just chatting, but with 2 microphones and 3 cameras. Because for actors, it can, like that what I'm trained in, and I know that podcasts are now really, really, really popular, and but to actually, that whole question of, are you performing now, and who am I think is really, it's a really interesting, really interesting topic. Yeah.
We've given it a good go at unpicking, I think, and there's a lot to come out. But look, there was one question I just wanted to think. We're going to do our closing tradition, which is the storytelling cards. But just before we do, there was one question I wrote down, and I'd just be keen to, and we've sort of touched on it anyway, but if we could teach young people one thing, not about performing or achieving, but about being, what would it be?
Oh, I think I'm only allowed one.
You go for it. Got time.
I think be kind. It's a huge, such a, so generic, I suppose. In your outlook, and I think be kind and play. If I can have that as well,
100%.
Yeah, don't take life too seriously, and learn to laugh at yourself. I think that's kind of what I live by, and I hope that I can let people in and go, okay, I can trust this guy. I can tell this person I'm at ease. It's a nice person to be around. Laugh, be kind, and play. I think story of a drama teacher.
Golden. Thank you.
Yeah.
Look, our closing tradition, right?
Okay.
Now, you come to the away day yesterday, which we've done our storytelling card. So you know the drill. So pick a card, any card, pass it back to me, and I'll read it out to you. You don't get as much time to think about it as obviously as you did yesterday, but here we go.
No.
So, what legacy do you hope to leave that has nothing to do with your career?
So, because I've got kind of 2 careers, so I'm going to use this as that I would like my legacy to be that, from a teaching perspective, is that you can achieve to the children that I teach, I would like to think that my legacy would be that you can do anything you want, and you need to enjoy yourself, like that they need to enjoy themselves whilst they're doing it, and that I was a small part of, I suppose, their being and their getting to their goals. Oh, Sam, I'm rubbish at this. I really am. I think it's the legacy of, like, in the sense of that, like, if people have stood at my funeral going, "What legacy did he leave?" And that's what I want to leave. I would love. Okay, then, what would Craig do? I'm not there yet. But what would Craig do in this situation? I've got people in my life I would love to be. What would Craig do if something happens? That was really bad, wasn't it? Cut.
I love that.
Shall I finish it with a really... I felt like Ricky Gervais. I felt like David Brent during that. Oh, legacies. I'll just finish it with this, cut. So... Oh. Sorry, probably can't use any of that. You can't even answer a question about legacy. So, don't worry about it. Good. The end. Finito. Right. What happened next? Get out. Oh, God.
Priceless. Mate.
I feel like I need another go at the legacy.
Genius way to finish. Oh, mate, it's priceless. Well, you've done me. Mate, thank you for so many things. Like, just being a great mate, for just coming on and chatting to me today, and just sharing your wisdom, and it was brilliant. I loved every conversation we generally have always fills me up, and today was special. I'm glad we got to capture it today.
It's nice to finally do it, from doing it in the from being in the swimming pool all those years ago to where we're at now. And that's the, like when you do cut there, like, this is what we're talking about. We keep this rolling because this is now off camera. That has anything changed apart from my posture from leaning forward? But hopefully that you'd think that just because the cameras are there, that it wasn't a performance, that it is just, we just had a chat.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we did.
Yep.
And it was brilliant. Thank you, mate.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me on.
And as they say, he's a rap, right?
Yeah. Who am I?
Oh, mate. Amazing.